I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the drama playing out in real time in Tucson. The abduction of Nancy Guthrie, a case with new developments every day, but still no answers. Here's the story. In the normally peaceful Catalina foothills north of Tucson, a disturbing mystery has shattered the calm. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing February 1st after she failed to arrive at a church service and family members discovered her home in troubling disarray. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says investigators believe Nancy was taken from the house against her will. That set off a search that has now transformed into the biggest true crime mystery in America. Who is the mysterious man caught on camera in the middle of the night carrying a gun and wearing a mask? Who wrote the ransom letters? And how much more do investigators know? With thousands of tips pouring in and the eyes of the nation watching, when will Nancy Guthrie be found? I want to bring this story back to its genesis, and we know people go missing every day, unfortunately, across the country. This case is very different, though, which is the abduction of an 84-year-old. That, never happens. I've never covered a story like that. But the other part of this story that made it such a big story from the beginning is the fact that Nancy is Savannah Guthrie's mother, and Savannah has spoken out on social media during the course of all of this that is transpiring with her mother missing. Take a listen.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help. I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
What a difficult, this is torture. This is, when you get older, Most people, at some point, you're going to lose your parents, and that is devastating. It is a devastating moment. Think about this moment for Savannah and her sister and her brother, that you don't know. You're holding on to belief that someone will step forward and do the right thing. Someone took your mother in the middle of the night? Now, let's get to a huge development. At least I think it's a huge development, which was the seizure of a vehicle. This Range Rover was seized. Federal agents seized a gray Range Rover overnight on Friday. It was in the parking lot of a Culver's. It's a restaurant, fast food restaurant in Tucson, about 2 miles from Nancy's house. The sheriff's department said the activity was part of the Guthrie investigation. Someone was temporarily detained, but not arrested. But as you're watching right here, the Range Rover was taken. They brought the flatbed in, put it up on the flatbed, and they took it away. It's now evidence that they're taking a look at, right? Which brings us to the first question in our investigation. Why? Why was the Range Rover seized? What does it take to get to the point where you can seize that Range Rover? What do they know? What does it mean? And then what could the seizure then lead to? Joining me, former NYPD officer, retired Nassau County Lieutenant and Commanding Officer Mike Gould, and retired homicide detective, host of the true crime show, The Murder Mind, Vince Velasquez. Great to have you both here. Okay, Vince, I'm going to start with you. With both of you, just give me a number 0 to 10, 10 being wow, 0 being eh. The fact that they seized this vehicle but did not arrest the owner or the driver of the vehicle. 0 to 10, how big is it? Vince?
I would say 5, right in the middle.
5?
I can think of a few reasons why. I would say 5.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the middle.
All right, Mike, where's your number?
Little lower, around 2 or 3.
2 or 3? All right,
yeah.
let me start with 5. Vince, why 5?
So, we got to look at what's the probable cause here. They have to have some type of evidence, some nexus to allow a judge to sign a warrant to seize the car, to search the car. Could be a number of things. It could be the telematics of the car. Range Rovers, some have something like OnStar, which has a cellular modem, may have hit off a cell tower. They may have a person of interest who has a cell phone that pinged on a tower close to the crime scene, or it could have been a license plate reader, an LPR, where that tag number hit on something. I think with a case of this magnitude, a judge would be a little more lenient on probable cause to try to get that information. I don't know how I would be able to search that car without a warrant. And that may very well be the evidence that's connected to it. Now, what's interesting is this thing was searched, my understanding, simultaneously when they hit the house. So it seems it was coordinated. It seems like, that was planned. And as you said, Vinnie, they detained somebody and let them go. We haven't heard anything about that. Also, we haven't heard anything about any evidence that may have been recovered from the car. So I think they're doing their due diligence, and I think they're just trying to be safe, trying to be careful.
Mike Gould, you're not as optimistic here. You're below 5. You're down in a 2 or a 3. Tell me why.
Well, Vinnie pushed it up maybe 1 or 2 points, but Vinnie's quite correct. This vehicle, particularly Range Rovers, they offer a great deal of very sophisticated digital evidence that can be had with a warrant generally. You meet where the car went, how fast it went, lateral movement, slowing down, going in reverse. So obviously, if this person was a person of interest, this stuff is very important evidence, but it just doesn't seem, a lot of the evidence thus far that I've seen or been presented with was always on, including the glove, it's always in the 2 or 3 range. It's not a smoking gun whatsoever. So, I agree with Vinnie. Potentially, it's a lot of evidence, but why they didn't arrest him, again, they might have let him go for various reasons. He might be under surveillance, but they did take the car for a reason. And generally speaking, you need a search warrant to take a car. You can't just, you have to have probable cause to arrest somebody, and then you can take the car and inventory its contents pursuant to a lawful arrest. So The problem we're having is there's a lot of missing information. We're just getting tidbits of information, and we're just speculating a lot.
Sure. Now, Vince, Nancy Guthrie was taken. I don't think she was carried away from the house. I think she had to have been transported in a vehicle. Is there any way that you believe Nancy Guthrie could be transported in that vehicle and there'd be no trace of her in there? Obviously, they're going to search. Do you think would it be possible for her to have been transported? She was bleeding when she was leaving, by the way. Is there a way for her to be transported in that vehicle, and the FBI has seized that vehicle, and the vehicle show no evidence that Nancy was in it, if she was in fact in there?
I mean, it's possible. It's highly unlikely. I mean, you're talking about the evidence recovery team from the FBI. Top-notch, world-class. I've used them on my crime scenes before, and they leave absolutely no stone unturned. So not impossible, but very, very unlikely that there wouldn't be something, a hair, a piece of cloth that maybe matched the color of her sweater, something that would tie that together. I would be very surprised if she was in that vehicle and they didn't find anything.
Mike Gould, how much do you think they knew about the person associated with the vehicle before this seizure? Because again, not arrested, detained while they took the vehicle and then eventually let go. How much before the seizure, how much background do you try to get for an operation like this?
Yeah, so you're trying to get as much as you can, obviously, but there is some incongruency here that they take the vehicle, but they didn't take the person of interest, so to speak. To your earlier point, though, there has to be blood. She was bleeding when she left the scene. So we have highly trained human remain detection dogs, actually, that could go over that vehicle and locate blood droppings or biological samples of varying different things associated with a human being, particularly if they're injured and bleeding. So I would find it highly unlikely that they can't find evidence, some DNA in that car of the victim if she was in fact transported in that car. It's almost impossible in my view.
Yeah, Vince.
Vinny,
go ahead.
Let me just say this. So one thing that we have to realize here is they either have a suspect, a person of interest that's tied to the car, or they have some type of serialized number tied to that car. Now, if it was just a tip and somebody said, I saw a Range Rover in the area, well, they're not just going to focus on that particular car. So they either have to have someone that they're interested in, and now the nexus is their vehicle, possible transporting Nancy Guthrie in it, or there's something with the vehicle itself, and then the nexus is the person. And that could explain why they want the car, they want to look for evidence. They, as in an abundance of caution, I would do the same thing. I'd bring him in for questioning, and if he doesn't confess or he doesn't say anything incriminating, let him go and continue the investigation. But there's something there, either with the person or with that vehicle.
All right, guests are standing with us. Coming up next, was this a burglary gone wrong?
We will not rest. Your children will not rest.
A deadly school shooting.
I just started hearing gunshots.
Now, the father of the alleged shooter
Is on trial.
Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son to possess a weapon.
The Gave My Son a Gun murder trial. Weekday morning on Court TV.
I've worked hard all my life. I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show every morning.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
That was a really big moment. I thought it was going to be a game changer in all of this when they're saying, listen, we will pay. We will pay. And this was at the moment when there was a lot of focus on the ransom note and the deadline. The deadline was on a Monday. The message came out over the weekend. We will pay. And yet there was no payment, at least no reporting of a payment made, and there was no reaction to that video either. So There's a reporter out in Tucson with AZ Family, Arizona's Family. It's the name of the station, the news organization. Has been doing some great reporting on all this. Brianna Whitney is her name. And, you know, reporters have standards, and organizations like AZ Family have standards before they report things from anonymous sources, right? Sources that they won't give out the names to, right? And she's had some reporting here that I think is really significant in all this, and I want you to take a listen to a piece of her report.
Hi guys, we are now able to independently confirm some new information in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. This is from an inside source that is now reportable. We can now report investigators now believe this was a burglary gone wrong. And last but probably most important, the widespread belief by investigators tonight is that Nancy Guthrie could be alive.
Okay, that's pretty huge, right? That's like major, but it's coming from sourcing within, that they can confirm something. So they learned something and then went to the source to try to confirm it, and they say the source within law enforcement confirmed it to them, but not putting their name on the record. Reporting like this is very, very, very common. It's usually more connected to politics, but in these kinds of stories as well. Well, the sheriff seemingly responded to that. Take a look at what the sheriff posted. Pima County Sheriff's Department spokesman, PCSD has never stated that this was a burglary gone wrong. Any reports indicating otherwise are inaccurate. This remains a very active investigation. Okay, so the public statement, that's not true, but the source is saying, yeah, this is what they're doing here. So that brings us to the next question in our investigation. Was this a burglary gone wrong, right? Is there anything that seems to indicate that? Is that possible, potential, likely in all of this? Do we think that investigators are working under this theory and just don't want to publicly state it? Still with me, former NYPD officer Mike Gould and retired homicide detective Vince Velasquez. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't buy it. I don't go in that direction. I should say anything's possible. But burglars want to get in and out. They're a random burglar entering a house like this. You know, that house is big. There could be 3, 4, 5 people in there, 5 football players. So unless you have surveilled it and you know who's in there, know the circumstances, know there's an elderly person, it's unlikely it was just random. Just a burglar. You know, again, none of this adds up to me. It never had the kidnapping aspect of it, dealing with the media rather than the supposed kidnapper. Anybody that commits a random burglary, I don't think is then going to abduct somebody for 14 days for ransom. So it's unlikely, in my opinion, that this was a burglary gone wrong. Somebody might have detected realized or recognized who he was, and that could have made things gone bad. But burglars want in and out, and that's gone. They want to be gone.
Vince, I want to kind of narrow this a little bit from not necessarily a random burglary, but perhaps a burglary by someone who knows something about what's going on inside, that this is a woman who lives by herself, a woman who is connected to a very rich daughter who's on TV every morning. Do you believe there's anything that this could have been a burglary gone wrong? Perhaps thinking that there might be some riches inside, or maybe they were going to commit a different felony inside?
Well, you know, that would still be a burglary, and I agree with Mike 100%. About 20% of burglaries occur between midnight and 4 a.m. So that means most burglaries don't happen at the hour that this thing happened. And if you look at the video of this guy walking up, the gun is strapped to the front of his waistband. It almost, to me, seems if it's on display as an intimidation factor. It doesn't seem like a burglary to me. His outfit, honestly, to me, looks like he's out of central casting. It looks like this guy watched too many movies. It's amateurish at best. And then I've heard some reports of forced entry. Well, a lot of people should understand that forced entry doesn't necessarily mean, like burglars do, break a window, break a door. If Nancy opened the door and he forced his way in and there's signs of a struggle, that's force. That's still forced entry. So we don't know exactly what happened. I didn't hear any reports about pry marks or windows being broken. Doesn't seem like a burglary to me. It seems like Nancy was targeted. The million-dollar question is why. Is it tied to the ransom notes? Is it tied to the people who sent the ransoms in? I don't know. That still remains to be seen. But in all accounts, this does not seem like a burglary to me.
All right, Mike, I think Vince brings up a great point about the gun on display. Could that have been the motivation for this unlawful entry, to go in there and scare this 84-year-old woman, and then things suddenly go south from there?
Right. But to pick up on what Vince said, you know, we don't even know where the entry was made. You know, the front door of most of our homes are the most fortified, right? We're locked, double locked. But you can always find a door, a screen door in the back of the house or a window. For somebody to actually, a burglar to enter the front door of a house is unusual. Nighttime burglaries, as Vince said, are very unusual because of the fact of the unknown. Who's in there? What are they doing? So, and to carry a gun in a burglary is also very, very unusual and not very likely, because that increases the level of the crime, to be armed with a deadly weapon when committing a burglary. All these are aggravating factors. And of course, kidnapping turns it into a capital murder if the person dies during the commission of the crime. So, you know, nobody really talks, but we're just, again, speculating. Nobody said they went in the front door. They could have come out the front door because there's blood stains there, but that doesn't mean initially he went around the back. You know, garage doors are sometimes unlocked. There's sliding glass doors. Everybody has a way. You tell somebody, oh, yeah, go around the back. That door should be open when you get locked out. You don't go through. Very few people go through the front doors, actually.
All right, big thanks to our guests. They are so good. Vince Velasquez, make sure you check out Murder Mind, available on YouTube. Mike Gould, great to see you as well. Thanks, guys. Still to come, is the man in the video working alone? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. The momentum seems to indicate investigators are getting closer, but Nancy's family's still waiting for the answers. Here's the story. When 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie failed to arrive at church Sunday morning, worry quickly escalated into a criminal investigation. The mother of Today's Show anchor Savannah Guthrie was last seen around 9:45 p.m. Saturday, January 31st, at her home in the Catalina foothills north of Tucson. By midday Sunday, relatives who found no sign of her inside contacted authorities. Investigators soon declared the residence a crime scene, saying the evidence strongly suggests Nancy did not leave on her own and was likely taken against her will. Blood confirmed to be hers was discovered on the front porch. Authorities have also said security cameras and digital monitoring connected to her pacemaker were disabled around the time she disappeared. Now, the FBI has joined the case and recovered previously lost images of a possible suspect. With those new leads in hand, the search for Nancy and the person responsible has intensified dramatically. A lot of moving parts, and you know, every once in a while in a story like this with new developments each and every day, sometimes you got to go back and then sort of remember some of the things that we've learned and then connect them to some of the new information. So I want to do that right now. And I want to begin by going back to the sheriff, talking about the timeline connected to that doorbell camera.
This is a timeline that we have been able to develop with some of the things that we've had processed. Various pieces of electronics that we've gathered. Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself, it just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So that detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video. But we're not giving up on that. 228. Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone.
When you say the doorbell camera was disconnected, do you believe that that camera was taken?
We do not have it in our possession. We've not located it.
Okay, so that timeline was really the first time, like, okay, we see the window of time and we want 41 minutes? 41 minutes inside? What was going on during all that time? Now, another aspect of this case has been these ransom notes that have been sent to the media, and also other notes with people who have tips and have information but want to sell it for Bitcoin, right? Here's TMZ founder Harvey Levin on TMZ talking about a fourth note.
It says, I know what I saw 5 days ago south of the border, and I was told to shut up, so I know who he is, and that was definitely Nancy with them. He said there was a main person and there are others. He is saying that Nancy was taken to Mexico.
All right, a couple of things I'm taking away from there. One, like, this person knows the people who did this, has spoken to the people who have done this, and says, oh yeah, it was down in Mexico 5 days ago. You can take it for what it's worth, but this is still part of the ongoing conversation and investigation that's taking place. Now, another big moment from the sheriff finally speaking out about the Guthrie family. Take a look. Pima County Sheriff's Department spokesperson, to be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in the case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. And then goes on to say, to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. Okay, but like, that's the first time we've ever heard that the family has been cleared. To be clear, that's the first time. Now, something else, another big piece of information that we got from the FBI, which was a description of the man seen in the video. I guess they did some sort of analysis. The suspect is described as male. People online were debating, man or woman. They're saying male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", average build. In the video, he's wearing a black 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker Pack backpack. And what we've learned about that is that it's exclusive to Walmart. And finally, we see the suspect in the video himself. A lot of information, but taking all of that into consideration and everything else we know about the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, let's go to the next question in our investigation. Is the man in the video working alone? Is it just him? Joining me to help answer this question, private investigator Lauren Vellucci and retired police commander, host of Gardens of Evil Inside the Zion Society Cult, Mike King is here. Mike, I'll start with you, profiling evil. What are your thoughts here on the man on the porch? Is he working alone?
You know, Vinny, we have to accept the fact that all we see is one individual. But when we start thinking about the behavior of that single individual who approaches the porch, there's a couple of things that are really significant to me. Number one, he walks in pretty casually. He's not looking over his shoulder. He's not concerned about a car or somebody walking by with their dog. He is pretty dang confident that he's walking in undetected. That's incredibly dark there. And we see him coming from the side of the house to the left as we're looking at the imagery, and then onto the walkway. So he's either come up that driveway and walked, or there's somebody out there parked in a vehicle somewhere along there providing a lookout. And the reason I wonder about that, Vinnie, is because, again, he's not looking over his shoulder. He's not acting cagey. He's not acting spooked, even when things start to fall apart on him. And if, based on the other imagery we've seen, it's his second run at this thing. So he's already made one dry run without the backpack, without the weapon, and he's come in to look over the place. So that either is stashed away in a concealed spot, out the backpack and the weapon, outside of the house or the boundaries, or it's in a vehicle somewhere else where he can get to. If he's approaching that home thinking that he's got just one person to worry about, because again, how would you walk into a home like that and spend time not wondering if there's somebody in there that's going to tune you up if you come through the door? He's apparently got some kind of pre-knowledge as well about the layout of the place. Maybe it's because he's been there on multiple occasions, who knows? But all of that points to potentially another individual, but the only thing we have factual is one individual.
There's one. Lauren, what are you taking from this? Do you think the man that we've seen in the video, the man that everyone is looking for, is working alone in all of this?
Absolutely not. I don't buy it for a second. This guy, just looking at him, he doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, this is not his profession. So I absolutely agree with Mike. I think there was comfortability here. This was a absolute planned hit. There is, in my opinion, either someone or multiple people in the home already, and most definitely someone out at the car that is looking out. This is a multiple person operation, because they would have needed more than just him to get Miss Guthrie out of the home, in my opinion. And I think he was someone who was coming in to destroy the cameras, to take those down so that if anyone else was entering or leaving, those cameras were gone. And I think he was another body to help remove her, if I'm being honest.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it does make some sense, because her blood is found out front. So, Mike, based on that, are you presuming that she's taken out of the front door?
Yeah, I think so, Vinnie, and I really liked what Lauren said about the fact of how difficult it would be for a single individual to manage someone. I mean, many of us have had aging parents, and it's difficult. She's somewhat limited in the way she walks. In fact, if you believe the reports, she can't get more than 50 feet or so without the aid of her walker and other things. So that's going to be pretty important to know what if that walker, for instance, is recovered inside of the home. But that blood, when you look at the imagery of the suspect on the porch that we have, there is no blood on that. And if we go back and see that imagery, the blood we're looking at on the screen right now isn't there. That tells us again that happened post at least that event of him coming up on the porch and inspecting things. And it may have been that his intention was to go through that front door initially until he saw a big heavy-duty security door. But again, the idea I think that makes the most sense is that was an exit point out to an awaiting vehicle and a way to get Mrs. Guthrie out of the home and away from that scene. And again, Vinnie, that may explain one person taking her out the door and she fell and had that a nosebleed or an injury that caused those passive droplets to fall on the porch. But that was after he was there the first time, cut and dried, because the blood was never there when he makes that first approach.
Yeah. So as you look at that video, Lauren, you don't see it as him being surprised by the fact that there's a camera there Instead, just trying to figure out a way to, number one, not be detected and a way to get rid of it. Because here, it looks like he's trying to do something with that bottom hand, too, right? It looks like he's trying to maybe get it off at that moment.
I have a thought on that as well. And I'm not saying that he handled this appropriately. Like, the fact that he knew something was there, I mean, he could have used tape and it would have been a whole easier process. I think this was probably the village idiot that they hired to just do whatever. But like, I think, and I know from personal experience, it is not difficult to hack those electronic locks. There are ways around that. So either he was doing something with that on his bottom hand, that's just my thought, or he had the code, because I do believe that there is some kind of a connection here to someone close in that family. And I believe, Vinnie, I even sent you the pictures. The pictures of the foliage on the front porch. There is the foliage down, and then you can see the blood droplets. If you zoom in and really look closely, the blood is over the foliage. So it's exactly as Mike said, the blood was post this. So yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we even have video and things like that for us to zoom in is ridiculous. I am embarrassed that this crime scene was handled in the way that it was. We should never have even had a clue that there is blood on that, much less have reporters being able to walk and contaminate that scene.
All right, guests are staying put. Coming up next, how did the abductor get inside Nancy Guthrie's home?
We love you, Mom. We love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you.
In 2021, Dee Warner vanished without a trace.
Dale Warner. He's accused of murdering his wife, Dee. Rumors of a troubled marriage spread throughout this small community.
She had contemplated divorce several times.
Now, after years of searching for Dee Warner, her remains are found on the couple's property.
Sealed inside a welded shut storage tank.
We're still going to fight to the end to see that she gets her justice.
The hidden murder of Dee Warner. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
Australians copy to we reference missing person of PTSD at 5820-5020, approximately Escalante. Copy reference Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, Pineapple blue, ring after 2200 hours as of yesterday. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Some of the original dispatch audio, it's now, been more than 2 weeks. Nancy Guthrie's been missing in all of this. I want to take a moment to take a look at the home and the different ways that you can get into the home. And we'll begin at the front door. Let's take a look at the front door of Nancy's home. Kind of walk up this way. We're getting a little bit closer. You can kind of, there's no lights, right? This is, as Cody Thomas was out there, talked about dark skies, how there's no illumination anywhere. But that's how you get there. Do we have a closer up shot of the front door? Okay. Let's take a look now. Fox News Digital, I believe, had this, or Fox News has the back door as we take a look at the back door area. And this is really the first time we've gotten to see that. There you see that it's blue. The part of the door there is blue. There's also been mention of another door that's on I believe on one of the sides there that may go into the garage area. So you've got the front door, you've got the back door, you've got another side type door going into the garage. And then, of course, you have the actual garage door, which is another way to get in there, which is apparently, according to the sheriff, how they believe and how they were told that Nancy, when she returned from Annie's home, got back in the house. Take a listen.
At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent to what we were told by the family, that Nancy was dropped off at home. And we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, at approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes, which is that time we assume that Nancy's home and probably going to bed.
And I'm going to assume that they must have some sort of an app that tracks all of that, like many of us have for our garage doors. You can open with an app, you can close with an app, you can also use your clicker. All right, so we've got all these different ways into the home. That brings us to the final question in our investigation this hour. How did the abductor get inside Nancy Guthrie's home? Or abductors, right? Still with me, private investigator Lauren Vellucci, retired police commander Mike King. Lauren, what are your thoughts here on how they gained entry to this home?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they had some kind of inside person, whether that be someone connected to someone who worked in the home at some time, years past. There's no telling, but I do believe that it was someone who knew that they didn't have an active subscription, and that it would have been easy to get those cameras down and kind of knew a lot about the situation. Whether that was the code, were they given codes at one time? It's very possible. Or it would have been pretty easy to pick a lock. I mean, that happens all the time, unfortunately. But I do believe that there was people either inside or came later, and they did a lot of things in the meantime of being in there for 40-some minutes.
Mike King, what are your thoughts about how they were able to get inside of Nancy Guthrie's home?
I find myself looking at several angles, Vinnie. I mean, one we can't disregard because we just don't know is the possibility that there was a con approach of some kind at the front door. Somebody finally bangs on that front door, that same suspect, and says, "Hey, I'm the police. I need to make sure you're okay." Now, the way he's masked up, less likely. But I think of just in Minnesota last year, a state senator who's murdered by that very kind of guise. So we have to keep in mind that there might be a con approach. All of that aside, we really have to focus on that back door area, the garage area. It's possible somebody could have been hiding in the brush and waited until that garage door started to drop down and go inside. But the problem with that kind of a scenario would be, I believe the son-in-law would be in that driveway with his headlights on if he didn't get out and take her into the home personally, which I would think he probably did if she has such a hard time mobility-wise, but somebody could slip in that way. And then we got to think about the possibility that there's an unlocked door. And I'll tell you what, happens more often than not that somebody just happens to leave a door unlocked. And Vinnie, you showed something just a moment ago that I haven't seen yet. And if we can somehow get back to it, there was a picture of the back door that you were showing. And to the right-hand side, it looks like you can see the round conduit, and I'm wondering if that's where that spotlight was that was broken off, because you can actually see all of that missing in what looks like just the wiring.
Yeah, we can't get back to it because we're out of time. Mike King, great to see you. Zion Society called Gardens of Evil. Make sure you check it out. Lauren Vellucci, thank you as well. There are a lot of unanswered questions the public has been debating, but we always have to remember investigators know more than they've revealed. That's why I feel like we're getting extremely close to at least a partial answer. And when it happens, it's going to happen quickly. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.